Hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole, president of Adams, Evans, and Ross, and Backdoor Hire Solutions. And I am joined with our general counsel, staff attorney, and lovely daughter, Samantha. Samantha, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Well, Samantha and I have been traveling to different parts of the country this past few weeks, having conference season. So this is actually one of the few times that we've been able to meet face-to-face in the last couple of weeks. But today, what I thought we would talk about, we kind of take a slight variation, but I think equally as important, is Samantha works with a family business, and which has the benefit, privilege, drawback, curse, whatever you want to call it, of working with multitudes of different family members along with her own team and things on those lines. And Samantha and I know I have other daughters, and I have other daughters that have worked in the company. I have other daughters that are still working in the company, and I've had other daughters that have come and left the company for various reasons. All of those scenarios have worked out well. We can still all get together for Thanksgiving and everything is fine. But there is some uniqueness of working with a family business and working with relatives. Samantha, I will pass it over to you to start on what do you think has made, you've been with us about 2 years. Actually, you've been with us much longer than that. You've been our attorney for 2 years. You've been with us probably about 7. What do you think were the biggest pitfalls to work around in an overview of what the best benefits were?
Well, I think it starts with, in comparison with my sisters to a degree, you and I are one person, if people haven't picked up on this.
Yeah. You have been referred to as my clone in a multitude of ways, but I do agree with you on that.
So personality-wise, we kind of had some learning to work together with as similar as we are and then as different as we are. Anybody in the office does know how annoyed I can get when I say Wilson moved my cheese or Dad moved my cheese, because the amount he'll come in to try to find a file or move something around, or even a lot of our files are online and he'll go in and rearrange things. Those boundaries are blurred. But the biggest thing that was the biggest challenge, and kind of where I had to almost put my foot down a little bit, was being able to turn work off. The amount of times that I have had to look at Dad, especially if it's not a full family function. If we've got all the siblings, brother-in-laws, grandkids, it's not as much of a problem. But if I, talk to Mom one afternoon and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to cook dinner, I'm coming home for dinner tonight, having to have those moments of, actually, I'm not staff attorney right now. I'm the pain in the ass kid. Like, I just want to come freeload off a meal, have Mom do a load of my laundry.
So basically, and that is true, because and both of us are workaholics in our own way. And
yes.
There have been times where the reverse has been true, to where, it's a weekend, we're, doing something with, sisters, brother-in-laws or whatever. And then there's something that you want to bring up. It's like, oh dear God, let's talk about that on Monday. And so we both do it to each other, because there's times where somebody's, you and I recreate by work.
Yeah.
Times that you just have to get away from it. But I think having that turning on and turning off, and one of the things that I think...
And also, you're a night owl and I'm a morning person, so I have called you or been staying at the house for some reason while, construction's been going on at my house, and I come down at 7 in the morning and want to jump into things, and you're like, can I finish this cup of coffee?
No. I don't want to talk work until about 9 o'clock, where I can focus on things, and then you pretty much after about 9 o'clock in the evening, don't want to focus on anything, and I certainly understand that. So the secret to happy family businesses is to have that on and off. This is at work, and this is not at work. And then also, in my opinion, is almost have areas of influence. It's easier with you and I because for a multitude of reasons. And I think like a lot of business owners, I'm a control freak, but I held on to things to the point to where I realized I was the bottleneck. And there were so many things on my plate. I was really doing a pretty good or pretty bad job on it. A lot of entrepreneurs think, well, I can do this as well as anyone else. Well, that's probably true, but they have more time to spend on it. I held on it to the point to where I had so many things going on. I not only did not do the best job at it, I probably did the worst job at it as anyone in the company. So I had to release it. Also, you have the autonomy over on the legal side, legal forwarding, and contracts and things on those lines, which I've never enjoyed that. I enjoy dealing with the client, solving their problem, and I actually enjoy dealing with the debtor, finding a solution to everybody's problem. But once it goes weird and it does go legal, I typically, before we would always involve our 70 plus forwarding attorneys, and I would go to each one of them depending on what state and kind of handle that. Where with you, that's now overall on your plate. So I think having a defined, here's my area of influence, I think has helped as well.
And then when it's the stuff you don't want to deal with, you can just go, hey, Sam.
Oh, there is a magic button in this office to where if I don't want to deal with something, I can press that button and it's a pass to Sam. But most of that stuff falls over into your areas of influence.
Oh, for sure.
Where I'm not micromanaging. I'm sure I micromanage to a degree. I
give you too much credit.
I could argue that I don't think I do, but I also know that I get enough complaints on micromanaging around here that I probably do. But the biggest thing for me, and I agree with you, to have a successful family business is being able to turn on and off, and then also having kind of an area of influence to where this is your domain, this is your problem bucket as well. Not to say that there aren't times where you need to bring me in because I've known the client for 20 some odd years, or to be a sounding board on, okay, the attorneys are saying this is going this way in California. How do we get that back under control, or what's the best way to get the best possible result for the client? Any closing remarks? Because there's a few subjects, there's boundaries, and the fact that, and I'm sure at some point we will talk about other aspects of the joys of running a family business, but I had to learn boundaries. And even on this subject, I am showing that I know boundaries to where I'm not even going to bring up certain subjects. So, Sam, any closing arguments on how to successfully blend in with a family business?
I think also humor, because there are times that it's like, oh dear God, what's next? But being able to, and also I think having that humor of anybody that's worked in a generational business, of how, and especially when I'm dealing with situations where it's confrontational on the other side, of having the humor to laugh off a lot of comments of, we can do a whole nother one on this, but the amount of times I get "your fathered" is a response, and usually I just have to, use humor and go, the only person who can say "your father" is my mother, and you don't sound like her.
And that is more over on where whenever you just have an opposing counsel wanting to get into your head, and if I've had the pleasure of dealing with them prior to it. But
I think, having the humor of, with dealing with those situations, and then just office dynamics of working with a parent.
And I agree. And also, but I think humor is good. One thing, and I'll close on this, for years we always discussed with the meetings that you and some of our staff would have, they referred to them as the shadow government, and probably truer than not. But Anyhow, well, Sam, thank you for joining on this meeting. Also, thank you for the last 6 or 7 years of hanging out. I know at times, hopefully it's been fun, but at times I know it hasn't. But you've handled it better than most. So kudos to you on that.
Sounds good. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early for the other meetings.
You do the same.